Welcome to Coop MTG. My name is Coop, and we have a kind of lighthearted video today. We're going to talk about my favorite monocolored commanders for April. Next month, it might change. We might make this a series and, go through it, and some things might change. But as of right now, I do have 5 monocolored commanders that I am enjoying, and I think that you would like if you want to try them out. Go ahead and give it a shot. But without further ado, like, comment, subscribe, and let's go ahead and get right into the video. So, Commander's supposed to be a fun game. We're supposed to all enjoy it. Play all these decks with multiple colors, but I myself like to play monocolor a lot, just to kind of switch it up. Now, there are 3 things that I do look for. I do look for power level, I do look for versatility, and I just look for overall playability. Now, we could all take a legendary creature and just plug into our command zone and say, hey, this is my commander. But let's be real here. We don't want a commander that's weak. We want to be a little versatile, have a little bit going on for itself, and we want to be able to play it. We don't want it to be able to just sit in our command zone. So let's go ahead and get to our first monocolor commander, which is Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. Now, for everyone that doesn't know Heart of the Wilds, it's great for pushing out big stompy creatures and ramping. Pretty much her tap abilities makes you can tap that any color of any combination that you want based on the greatest power among creatures you control, which means she's very, very splashable and a great tool in multicolor builds with the ability to combo mana. So we're going to talk about some cards that might go very well with her if you decide to put her in something that's monocolor, but we're going to keep her mono green for now. She also has the ability whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. Now, sometimes this might benefit your opponents, which is fine. We'll give them a card, cool. But how we're going to build the deck, we're revolving around slowly ramping with smaller creatures and her ability, and then dropping big nukes for a lot of mana, a lot of power, and we're trying to just swing and kill our opponent. And luckily, with her ability, mana isn't restricted to use on just creature spells. So if you have X spells, which we can talk about, she does very, very well. So let's go ahead and talk about some card choices that we can add in the deck. So Riskard's Expertise, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, which we're doing a lot of ramping. So chances are we're going to have big creatures. So we're going to get a lot of value out of Riskard's Expertise. And then you may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its cost, which is, having a free cast is always good. And with Selvala being able to ramp pretty quickly, having a lot of mana to use to get a Riskard's Expertise out early, you're going to get some good value out of drawing cards and casting the spell for free. Ghalta, Primal Hunger, is one choice that I would always add in a Selvala deck, and I've rebuilt this deck over and over and over again because it has a little ability. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control. Now, you can minimize that 10 to just double green real quick if you build the deck the right way. And it also has trample, and it's a 12/12. So we can couple Ghalta with Riskard's Expertise, draw you 12 cards, get the free cast, and it's like, hey, chances are you might only pay 2 green for Ghalta, which is pretty good. And another card that you can also pair with this synergy is Unnatural Growth. It is 1 and 4 green pips. It's an enchantment at the beginning of each combat. Double the power and toughness of each creature you control to end a turn. Now, what this does for you is you can save the Riskard's Expertise, have the Ghalta on board, enter combat. Your Ghalta is now 24/24. So one, it's swinging big. It's 24/24 with trample. And then you can Riskard's Expertise for 24 cards if that's something that you're feeling, right? So also, if you look at it with Unnatural Growth, if you want to save it, Selvala's ability, you get X of any mana combination where the greatest power among creatures you control. So you could pay a green, tap, add 24 mana of any combination to your mana pool, and do your thing. Now, if that's a combo and the type of play route that you're trying to go with, you might want to go ahead and get Zavala out. These are just choices. This is just options that I run. There are plenty of options out there for you. So do a little bit of digging, do a little bit of exploring, and you might find some even crazier combos with Zavala. Next up, we have Piper Wright, the public reporter. Now, I've talked about this a little bit on my TikTok. And when I first played her, my first version of her, I can tell you, when people see blue, they think blue is control. Nah, not Piper. Piper's trying to go in and she's trying to break your back. Okay? She's trying to go in for the kill all by herself. So if you want a little bit of twist on blue, we can go with Piper. Whenever Piper deals combat damage to a player, investigate that many times. Now think about that. Keep that in mind. That many times. Think about that. Whenever you sack a clue, put a 1-1 counter on target creature you control. Now, as you can see, my notes here says it's a Voltron style deck. I built it as Voltron. You probably can build it some other ways, but I think she's super fun. She's super fun and it's off the beating path of blue to build her as a Voltron commander. She can generate a lot of clues to dig for cards. So as these clues are building and building and building, you can dig in a turn, draw a lot of cards, and put your 1-1 counters on Piper or other creatures if you prefer. And it could be your solo win con if built that way. So I, in my opinion, would build Piper as Voltron. You would fill it with cards. Any of the swords, if you have them, you can go aura based, make her as big as possible, make her unblockable with things like Rogue's Passage. So let's say we make her a 10-12. She becomes a 10-12. She's unblockable. You swing in, you get 10 clues. Right? And then in a turn, you crack those clues. Put 1-1 counters on her. So now she's a 20-20. She's swinging lethal next turn. Make her unblockable. Make her safe. Give her Greaves. Or you can give her Swift Foot Boots. Can't talk today. You got your win con right there in blue. A one shot? Come on. So card choices for Piper. Academy Manufacturer. Great card. So with her making clues with Investigate, whenever you make a clue, food, or a treasure token, create one of each. Now think about that. You have food to kind of stabilize the life gain. And then you have treasure tokens to give you ramp. Ramp in mono blue. Think about that. That's a good way to go. On top of, all the clues that you do generate, you're going to get one of each. And you'll have mana to do these things in the turn, crack clues. You can use your treasure to crack the clues, to draw the card, to put the 1-1 counter on Piper, and just keep going and going and going. Another evasive artifact that we have here is Trailblazer's Boots. It gives your equipped creature non-basic land walk. Now, majority of decks that we do run against, they're going to run at least 2 colors, or they're going to have a land that is not a non-basic. I feel like that is every deck, even if you run monocolor. Someone's running a Command Tower. Someone's running Exotic Orchid. Someone's running Reliquary Tower. Someone's running something that's going to make Trailblazer's Boots make it work. So get the Trailblazers on early. Start swinging away with Piper. She only costs 2. Things might add up real quick. Might be a quick GG. And then finally, we have a card like Junkwine that has an affinity for tokens. So you're going to be making a lot of clues, maybe a lot of treasures, and foods. Think about that. Whenever a token enters the battlefield in your control, tap target non-land permanent and opponent controls. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Now, what this is sounding like to me, whenever Piper swings for that 10-10 and she creates 10 tokens, and then Academy Manufacturer creates you a treasure and a food, that's 12. That's 12 different things that you can lock down on a board in a turn, and it can untap. Now, you're playing aggro and you're playing control without a million counter spells in mono blue. So, you got a Piper Wright laying around. Go and give her a shot. Give her a shot. Next up, we have Kirik, son of Yawgmoth. I've built this deck so many times, and every time I build this deck, I have a blast playing it. So if you've never tried it, we're going to go into it a little bit. So Kirik has 4 and 3 Phyrexia pips, so you can use 2 life for each pip. Lifelink, for each black and a cost, you may pay 2 life rather than pay that mana. Whenever you cast a black spell, put a 1/1 counter on Kirik, Son of Yawgmoth. So it's a lifelink, starts at 2, can come out turn 4 and cost you 6 life. Now, that might sound like a lot. But don't get it twisted. The life that you pay for Kirik, if it stays around a couple turns, it's not even going to matter anymore. So it helps you cast your black spells at the cost of life. You start at 40. Life is a resource all the way down to 1 life. We need to always keep that in mind. Get strong as the game goes on, and nets life gain. So there's plenty of pieces that we know in black that are going to gain us a lot of life, and it's just going to make the game so much easier. It can be built aggro, mid-range, or control. Now, there's a lot of pieces that here I feel like Kirik is more of a mid-range type commander, because in Commander, you want to have a little bit of everything in your deck. You want to have some control pieces. You might want to have some aggro pieces, depends on what type of pressure you're trying to put on the board. And of course, mid-range. Mid-range is mid-range. I feel like mid-range is kind of one of those things that you just play. Everyone plays. Now, let's talk about some cards here, right? Now, 2 of these choices of cards might be a little different for you. You might be like, yo, why would you ever run these? Now, in my Kirik build, I ran a lot of cards that were not dead after all-esque. Until the end of turn, target player you control gains. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control, then create a Wicked Roll token attached to it. The equipped creature gets +1/+1. So what this does for you is basically, it lets you, if you need to tap out in a turn, and you have this card in hand and Kirik is on board, instead of having to worry about playing the black, you can pay 2 life. Get this off if they use removal, or if they board wipe, you can cast Not Dead After All for 2 life. Get it to come back with a 1/1 counter on it because of the Wicked Roll. So it would be alive with a 3/3 with lifelink coming back in. You really can't beat that. It's easy, almost free way to get through a board wipe, to get through a removal whenever it dies. So I think that's a very valuable piece, and there's plenty of other cards that they'll bring it back tapped, create a treasure token that costs a single black, things like that. Just having the reduction alone from Kirik makes cards like this a star. So definitely would try to run some of these cards like this in the build. Diabolic Tutor. Now, we don't see a Diabolic Tutor much, because if you got money like that, Diabolic Tutor is probably a card that you're not going to run. It costs 4. But it lets you search your library and put a card into your hand and shuffle. But in Kirik, though, hey, it's 2 mana, 4 life. We're a life gain deck. We're going to get that life back. Chances are we're at 60 by now, and we're not really even worrying about it too much. So it lets you tutor for a card, get it back. There's plenty of other tutors out there that you probably can use to get cards into your hand, maybe get into your graveyard, reanimate stuff back. But there's plenty of options tutor-wise. And then also the star, the MVP, we all know about Gary. All right, 3 black. Whenever he enters, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So, hey, Gary has put in lots of work, and we know there's a lot of crazy black enchantments that are out there that have double and triple and quad pips that make Gary very scary Gary, as we will call him. So let's say you just drain your opponent for, we'll say 5. You got 3 other opponents. That's 15 life you've gained. You've drained each of them for 5. Guess what? You already on the up and up from the payment that you would have paid with Kirik. Using 4 with Diabolic Tutor. Using 2 for Not Dead After All to keep Kirik alive. Oh, but then wait. You sack Gary off. Intentionally, of course. And then you reanimate him and bring him back. What do you know? I'm going to drain you again and gain more life. So Gary is an auto including Kirik. If you got him, good. If you don't, you probably want to pick it up. Any card that's a Not Dead After All effect, you probably should add it to the list too. Any pips that stick to your board that can make Gary just pop off is the way to go. And any cheap tutors, don't break the bank on tutors. There's plenty of tutors out there that you can use. I think Kirik just makes the best out of all the tutors for making your black into life. Next up, we got Grinzo, Havoc Razor. Now, I just stumbled upon Grinzo and have been doing a little bit of building with him. And listen, Grinzo's kind of tough. Usually, I don't like mono red at all. But this guy's kind of sneaky. So, I think he could be a fun alt for Krenko Mob Boss, which we all know about Krenko. Krenko is that guy. Versatile modes change up game patterns and can be hyper aggressive if built that way. So, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose one. Go target creature that player controls. Exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. Now, let's get real specific here. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose one. Now, it doesn't say if one or more creatures, because if that was the case, Grinzo would be bad. But let's say, hey, you got 3 creatures that hit a single opponent. You get 3 separate triggers. Now, imagine if you put Krenko Mob Boss in the 99, and at end of turn, you're tapping and you're tapping and you create more and more goblins, and then your sorcery speed and goblins in. Oh, but wait, Grinzo's a goblin too. And then you factor in Goblin King. Other goblin creatures get +1/+1 and have Mountain Walk. But then you can go even further. If you put in Blood Moon, hey, all non-basics are mountains. Yikes. So you can probably gold the board like crazy. Or if you want to just go a control strat and just beat everyone else down, you could just exile X amount of cards off the top of their library. If you want to play them, cool. If not, cool. Let them look at their exile and be upset that, look, yo, this was my win con, but you exiled it because you did damage to me. And then, of course, Untimely Malfunction. Now, I've been liking this card more and more that I keep playing it. I played it in my Locust God list. So it does have 3 modes on it: destroy target artifact, change the target of target spell or ability with a single target, which is very, very nifty, but we can talk about that later. And then 1 or 2 target creatures can't block this turn. So you can shut off the board. You can shut off some key creatures that your opponents would want to block with. Maybe they have Death Touch, maybe they have First Strike, things like that. Make sure those creatures can't block you. Swing wide. This will be a go wide strategy type deck. So if you have goblins laying around, I feel like this would be the way to go. You want to go very wide, very low to the ground. You want to go wide as possible and swing as many times as possible, because Grinzo doesn't have to swing in order to get the ability. He just needs to be on the board. But if you do have a card like Goblin King on board, and then you have Krenko just churning out goblins, whew, boy, it can get spooky in an instant. And then finally, we have Odric Lunarch Marshal, Keyword Utility King. Wide range of builds that can be built and can be built with tribal benefits. Now you can go the human/soldier route if you want to, but we're not really worrying about that. Odric is a 3 and a 1 white. At the beginning of each combat creature you control gain First Strike until end of turn if a creature you control has First Strike. The same is true for flying, Death Touch, Double Strike, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Skulk, Trample, Vigilance. That has a lot of text. I'm glad I'm not too bad of a reader, because that is a lot of text. So basically what Odric does, if one of your creatures has something, all your creatures have it. Now, imagine your 99 is built with some cards that, solely are there just for the keywords alone, and you just have some beefy bombs late game that just do damage on their own. But imagine giving them keywords. Let's go with Aerial Responder Sizzle. It's 1 white. It's a 2/3. It has Flying, Vigilance, and Lifelink. But guess what? That gives Flying, Vigilance, Lifelink to all your creatures on the board. The top of Primal Dawn. She's 6 white. But guess what? She gives you Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible. So you got Flying, you got Vigilance, you got Lifelink, you got Trample, you got Indestructible, you got Flying, and you got Double Strike. That's a lot of keywords to remember, but that's your whole board. Keep that in mind. And then you have a card like Swooping Lookout. Now, it might just look, it's 1 white for a 1/2, but it has flying and vigilance. So it gives you evasion. And then it leaves all your guys back to be able to block. Listen. I'm gonna build this deck super cheap. I'm gonna try to keep it under, let's say, $100 and see how I can build Odric. I've read him and I picked him up in full just because I wanted to play him. But now I really think I really need to build him and see how grimy and slimy I can build him on $100 budget. So there, folks. What is your favorite monocolor commanders? Yo, let me know down in the comments below if you want to see any more. Let me know what is your go-to monocolor commander? Do you have any spicy meatball type deck list that maybe you'd want me to talk about? Maybe you want me to break down, or maybe there's a commander, maybe there's a deck that you would want me to build, because I'd give it a shot. But anyways, appreciate you guys watching the video. If you liked what you saw, if you loved what you heard, like, comment, subscribe. Let's interact. Let's grow this thing. And I'm out of here. Happy Commander Games. We out.